So we'll just start today's chat with a bit of an introduction. So I'll introduce myself. So I am Lynn Rogers. I'm the overall sort of service delivery and operations manager for the White House Clinic. My role is to support the clinicians and the patients in every aspect of their journey at the clinic. Róisín?
So my name is Róisín O'Bentley. I'm the Women's Health Physio here at the White House, helping ladies to get back to how they want to be, with no leaks, no worries of leaks, and no pain.
I'm Joy Turnbull, and I'm a Pilates and yoga therapist and a teacher at the White House. I'm also a sports massage therapist.
Lovely. So we're just going to have a general chat today about our view of menopause and how we at the clinic can help ladies who are heading towards menopause or going through menopause. So shall we start, Róisín, with the big question: what is menopause?
Oh, it seems like a big question, but in a nutshell, the menopause is the reverse of puberty, if you want to think of it that way. It's a time, the actual meaning of menopause is the day that counts as 1 year where you've not had any periods, and that is your postmenopausal from then. But obviously, when we talk about menopause, we mean a lot more than just not having periods anymore. So what women often think of as the menopause is the perimenopause, which is that period when our body is adapting to a change in the hormones that it's now receiving, in particular estrogen. So estrogen and progesterone controls our periods, controls our cycle, and as we get older, as the body isn't producing any more eggs anymore, those levels slowly start to diminish. And I say slowly, it's not a general just slowly goes down. It's more peaks and troughs. You're walking along the Himalayas with the changes in your hormones. Some days you might be feeling great, other days you might feel rubbish. And because the body is having to adapt to this new way of this new Russian roulette of hormones, I suppose, we get different symptoms all the time. So you might feel anxious, you might get hot flushes, you might have difficulty sleeping, you might get aches and pains, you might start having leaks. There's a whole host, and every woman is different. There's no one size fits all in terms of how it can impact you. Some women skip through menopause, some women struggle with it. Yeah, it really does depend on the woman and how it impacts them.
And obviously, as a clinic, we offer various support for women at all stages of their life, as well as menopause, including the Pilates and yoga classes and the massage and the physiotherapy services, women's health. But how have you found, what are the main needs that you found as a physiotherapist at our clinic, particularly recently?
So with the menopausal women that I'm seeing at the moment, often they've not been aware that physiotherapy can help, and they've almost come to me as a last resort, or they've come to me with a different problem, generally lower back pain. And through talking, through understanding their problem history, things come about like, oh, actually, you know, I've noticed that I'm leaking a lot more and I didn't used to, or do you know what, I feel really emotional. I just feel a shadow of my former self is what I hear a lot of. But I didn't think physio could help. I'm just here for my back. And actually, it's a holistic approach. Physiotherapy, yes, we do exercises, but talking through these things, understanding your symptoms, understanding why you're leaking. Yes, there's the hormones have caused that, but there's lots of things we can do to help minimize. Is your low mood because you're leaking more and therefore you're worried about going outside? They all link together. But in terms of the menopausal women I'm seeing, yes, so leaks is a big one, and that can be fixed. You can jump on that trampoline again, leak free, I promise.
And I think you've found this, sorry, Róisín, you found this, Joy, with the ladies that come to your Pilates classes that chat to you generally about issues, and they're not aware of how exercise can help, and you know, and what you can do to help them through these issues.
What I've found in class is that we'll be having a conversation, and they're really friendly classes. So, and there are men and women that come along, and it's nice for the men to understand as well what's happening to the woman's body, and we talk about it openly. And a lot of people come in and they'll say, I find that I need the toilet all the time. Don't feel as though I've got a pelvic floor. And I said, of course you've got a pelvic floor. And then we talk about it. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we understand that they're not the only person that's going through the menopause. And I get women coming in at different stages in menopause, and they'll talk about joint pain, they'll talk about fatigue, not having much energy. And then I explain to them about how exercise can help them manage the joint pain by moving the body, moving the energy in the body, and also just giving themselves a little breathing space. A lot of things, I know, Róisín, you're big on the breathing aspect. About we do a lot of 3-dimensional breathing, working through the diaphragm, letting the diaphragm release, connection to the pelvic floor. So while they're doing it in class, there's a little bit of education about why they're doing it, and what benefit it is for them. There's a lot of when your hormones are changing, your bone density changes as well. So we talk about osteoporosis, osteopenia, and they're kind of like linking and the psychological and the mental benefits of exercise and coming together as a group. So it just starts off from a simple conversation, and then from that, I've mentioned Róisín's services, and a few of them have come through and said, oh, I didn't know that you did that for women. And it's you'd think that women would know about women's health physios, but they don't. So it's nice to be able to work together and link in, and just give people just some general advice. Obviously, Róisín's a professional, so I will say, go to see Róisín, and she'll help you, and she'll give you ideas to work with and things to think about, and to reassure as well, because I think when you're going through the menopause, particularly with the anxiety aspect of it, you feel really anxious. The yoga, the Pilates breathing, they're really beneficial. And I see differences in people when they are applying that at home as well.
Definitely. And Pilates fits so nicely with physiotherapy in this. Think of physio as nipping the problem in the butt, but the Pilates or whatever exercise a woman chooses to do thereafter being the maintenance of it.
Yes.
And it really impacts, like you say, the mental health, Joy. If you are worried about leaking, or worried that your pain is going to be worse after an exercise, you stop doing it, and then often that problem becomes a bigger thing, and then your anxiety around it becomes huge. Just taking that initial step to go, do you know what? No, enough is enough. I want this fixed, and it is fixable.
I agree, Róisín. I think a lot of people come into class, and some women will come in and say, I leak a lot. Is there a toilet? So yeah, there's a toilet there. But we talk about it openly in a way that's supportive, not making fun of anybody. And sometimes we'll have a little like, oh, this happened to me. But being able to share your experience and know that you're not the only person that's going through that. Because when you start to have these different symptoms that come about, anytime, my perimenopause started when I was 41, my full-blown menopause is 53. And from then, I've had all kinds of different symptoms. So I have a lot of joint pain, and I know full well that if I don't move on a regular basis, and I don't do the yoga and I don't do the Pilates, my body feels completely different. My mental health suffers as well. So there is a massive link with exercise and managing your menopause. And like you said, if you're finding what's worrying you, and if you are leaking, and you can give them that exercise, they come across to the studio, they do the yoga, they do the Pilates, they socialize, they meet other people that are going through the same experience. It makes you feel as though you're not by yourself, and you're not alone, and you're not going mad.
Massively. I think it's the destigmatization about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you growing up, I know I growing up, there's all those jokes like, oh, HRT, oh no, it sends you loopy, or the risk of breast cancer with it and everything. And then it's almost like this fear then of the menopause, this fear of getting old, or you become like this crazy old lady. We've all got a relative who, as they got older, they became a bit more reclusive or a bit more anxious, and you always had to just be mindful of them, or just be mindful of your aunt over there, she's going through the change or whatever. Then you become ashamed of what's happening to your body, you become scared of what's happening to your body.
Yes, yeah.
And then you don't want to do it.
It's the unknown and the change of symptoms, and not realizing that that is linked to your menopause. For me, for example, I had really bad anxiety around about 42 to about 45. I went to the GP, and the only thing that they said is you need some antidepressants. And I went on antidepressants. I felt awful. I felt like a zombie. But really, looking back on that period of time in my life, that was me hitting perimenopause. But no, my mum never told me about menopause. And we didn't learn about it in a biology class or at school. So there was no conversation being had about it. And then it was only in retrospect that now I look and I think, that's me changing in menopause. And now I'm not having a period at all. I think, yes, but then that comes with the joint pain and the brain fog, and you kind of like, but it's kind of like managing each little nuance of a symptom that might come along, and understanding it and not being afraid, and not thinking that this is going to be me for the rest of my life, because you can do something about it, and you can change how your body and your mind feels while you're in menopause, or going, coming up from the other side as well, and maintaining, good bone strength, good muscle range of movement, and all that kind of thing. It can be done, and it's not something to be shied away with. And definitely, I hear people say, "No, I'm too old for that." You're too old when you're dead. That's my idea about that.
Oh, I tell everybody, age is but a number.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But you're completely right, and I think part of having open conversations destigmatizes that women can learn about what they're going through. Doing a Pilates class with you is a great social aspect as well, to really help, which can help with your mental health as well. Seeing me learn about the changes of your body, or how I can help with any pain levels or leaking problems, that can also help reduce anxiety. But I think it's also important to remember that some problems or some symptoms, you may need a little bit of extra hand as well, and not to shy away from HRT if you choose, but always talk to your doctors about it. There's been so much research into HRT and the risks thereof, which are really minimal. The benefits far outweigh any risks. However, obviously, speak to your medical professionals. We have menopause doctors here as well who know what's what with all the medication, and you can talk to them or talk to your local GP. But don't get fobbed off. If you feel you've not been heard, go back, write down what you're feeling, tell them, give them an overview of what's going on. I think it's sad that there's still some medical professionals who don't really understand menopause and therefore can't help you. So don't, just because one door's been shut, don't think that's it. Yeah. I'm sure when they talk to you, Joy, or when women have spoken to me, just almost giving them the, it's okay, it's not in your head. You work, bully on through, or it kind of gives them a little bit the confidence in themselves, like, oh, do you know what? Yeah, it's okay. It's not in my head. This is really happening to me.
I think that's the big thing, is you do think it's in your head. The other thing that happened to me is I was getting a lot of palpitations and heart fluttering, and the thing I thought was, oh, have I got something wrong with my heart? Am I dying? And then when you look at the symptoms, a neighbour of mine actually gave me a book, and I think it was Miriam Stoppard's, which was written in the 1970s, and she gave me this book. and I read through it, and I kind of like understood it a little bit more. But you think being in exercise, working in the fitness industry for 25 years or so, that you'd come across, and it's only now recently that people are picking up on the menopause. I did some training back in 2020 during the lockdown, and I learned so much from that about how it can affect an individual. And I get some women that come into the class that have never had one symptom of menopause, and they'll say, oh, are you talking about that again? And that's great for that person. That's brilliant that they've not had any of that experience. But for the person that's having the hair loss, the itchy skin, the brain fog, the palpitations, the joint ache, it's a really, really horrendous time. But it's not meaning that you've got to suffer it, that you can do something to help yourself with it. And obviously services at the White House, the doctors, the physios, the teachers, the Pilates, yoga, sports massage therapists, there's always somebody that they can call upon to get that information. I think the more we educate women and men, the more we understand this process of life that we're going through. And I look back on when you first start your menstrual cycle, that if you've not had anybody tell you about that, that's quite a frightening thing to wake up and find, you've got something, what's this? But we talk about that in school, but we don't tend to talk about the menopause. And I think educating people so they're not frightened about what they're going through, and they understand the process of it and what may occur, what may not occur, but not to be frightened of it.
Exactly. And I think that just helps empower you. If you feel empowered.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you. I think that's a really good start to some of the conversation that we can have, within the clinic, just to get people started on, a little bit of advice, just to show women that, we're all going to go through it at some point, and, we are here to help and support all of these women that need that little bit of advice and help, and not to be afraid to just ask a question of any of us. We've got a lovely reception team as well, so if we've got patients that are in the clinic, and see a leaflet on the desk and want to ask a question, we're quite open in having a conversation and pointing people in the right direction. And I think that making sort of advice available to people is a great start, and hopefully it will encourage ladies to get in touch and speak to us if they are having any issues.
Definitely. No question is too big or too small either. If you need to know, you need to know. I
agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll have this conversation again. There's a big topic to cover.
Yeah.
So that's just the start.
Keep
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.